All right. Hello, welcome and good evening. My name is Gina Femia. I'm the Recruitment Manager here at Coro New York Leadership Center. I'm here and joined by Seth Bynum, who is an all-star alum, from our alumni community. I'm sure that you've all read and memorized Seth's bio, but I'm going to read it right now. After graduating from Vassar College with a degree in economics, Seth took part in the Coro Fellowship in Public Affairs, an experiential leadership development training program for aspiring changemakers in New York City. After the course of the 9-month fellowship, Seth worked at 6 different jobs and organizations in various sectors, such as the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, AFS-CME DC 1707, the Hudson Companies, New York Cares, and the Pratt Area Community Council. After the fellowship, Seth worked as an analyst for Benenson Strategy Group, a Democratic polling and strategic messaging firm, where he analyzed polling data and created messaging strategies for nonprofits, Fortune 500 companies, and candidates. Seth is currently a program assistant in the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Preservation Portfolio Program at the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development, where he underwrites and provides financing for the rehabilitation and preservation of privately owned affordable housing in New York City.
Mouthful there.
Yeah, that's impressive, amazing mouthful.
Yeah.
So thank you, Seth, for taking time and being able to come here and answer a few questions that I've prepared, as well as questions from our interested applicants. I'm really excited to get to talk to you.
I'm excited to be here.
Great. So the first question I have for you: the Coro Fellowship gives fellows the opportunity to experience different sectors across New York City. We got that a little bit from your bio, from your background, as well as from your now work experience after the fellowship. Can you tell us about your experiences in 2 different placements you've had during your time in the program, and how the projects you worked on contrasted or complemented one another?
I think one of my favorite placements was probably the AFSME, so the AFSME, AFSME DC 1707. It's the American Federation of State and City Municipal Employees Union, the District Council 1707 union. It was a relatively small union. It had around 28,000 to 30,000 members of almost completely either early childcare workers or home health aides. I had no background in labor. I really knew nothing about labor. And I came in there, I worked under the political and legislative liaison, and I got a chance to, I had 2 really awesome things I got to do. One of them was I got a chance to create like a lobbying strategy for Long Island Head Start teachers or workers, early child care workers, on like how to basically advocate for themselves against like leadership, and like advocate and get things like a janitor hired and stuff like that. That's some of the things that I basically, kind of suggested. And then the other half was I got to go and talk to locals. So I went out to Queens about 3 times, actually 3 or 4 times over the course of 6 weeks, and got a chance to talk to home health aides out in Queens. And it was an incredible, like experience because they were, a lot of them were extremely angry, rightfully so, and they wanted their union to do something about it. And I think I learned a lot how to basically talk to people and control a situation where I would stand up in front of maybe 50 home health aides at a time, yelling and screaming. And it was actually an incredible experience, because I think my first one, to be honest, didn't go that well. But after I kind of learned those skills and basically found out, started understanding what they wanted, and I was able to talk to them, and I was able to go back to the union and report back. And it was just incredible. I had no idea, going into it, I always thought I was a good public speaker. But the thing about that was less about public speaking. That was more about being able to listen and being able to basically like talk to people and not at people. So I got a chance to do that. And like that versus like advocating for a group of folks versus like my, like that way right in front of them versus my government placement, which was at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, where I worked on an employee injury management system, where one thing that it did was at the time, the Port Authority's whole system reporting like injuries to workers was extremely slow, and and them getting payment and stuff like that afterwards, and just it getting assessed. So I worked on like a quality management and control plan for their new electronic system. And it was really awesome. I got to be in a lot of meetings with the IT people and the tech people, and I got to talk to workers at the Port Authority, and I was able to advocate for them and basically tell the IT people their grievances over why it's these things are going too slow. We wish it was this interface, it's pencil and paper. Why is it like that? And it was an amazing experience, and it's two very different experiences, but I was still advocating for a group of workers. And the Port Authority has a lot of workers, a ton of workers as a bi-state agency, and that was really a cool thing that I noticed while I was at Coro. It's advocacy it can look extremely different, but it is the same. We're advocating for a group of people.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
What a great experience. So how did these experiences have an impact on your professional life post-Coro, now in the real world?
I think all my placements were in public service. And, I always had an idea. I always knew I wanted to go in public service. When I went into Coro, that's one of the reasons why I chose Coro. But I think what I learned is what public service looks like. And by that, it looks different. It can look completely different. There are so many different avenues of just helping people and advocating for people. And I was able to learn that through Coro. And now as I go through my professional life, I know public service looks so different, and the job technically can look extremely different, but a lot of times, a lot of those critical thinking skills, a lot of those more less technical skills, but more cerebral adaptive skills and things like that are helpful across every type of public service job. Learning how to just basically have empathy, learning how to just think through things how someone else would how it would impact some other person that is completely different than you are. Those skills are some of the things I picked up from Coro, and I'm gonna hold that for the rest of my life, and just know that Coro gave me a set of skills that I can take from any public sector, any public service job, whether it's in the business, whether it's in government, whether it's for a nonprofit, whether it's a political campaign or a labor union or just anything, or just something that isn't even in my job, something I do just on the side because I just want to be involved in something. I can use those skills. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So shifting gears a little bit from the professional to the network that we have, we do talk a lot about the network of dedicated alumni we have. So how did the network impact you while you were a fellow, and how do you interact now that you're an alum?
Oh, okay. So the thing about the Coro Fellows program, just to say this up front, for whatever you're thinking it is not. It's a lot more than that, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I was told going into it by an alum who I spoke to before the fellowship when I was thinking about doing it, and she told me hey, you're gonna realize that the alums are the only other people who know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And they know exactly what you're going through. Because of that, reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
They are there to listen and everything. And that was some of the best advice I got. Right in the first couple of weeks, I reached out to alums, trying to get advice, how to navigate Coro, things like that. And those same people have become some of my, not just my mentors, but some of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all over. They're they are all over. All over New York City, all over New York State, all over the country. And we have a few that are international. It's really amazing. The alums, and they kind of understand. They understood at that time what I was going through, which was extremely helpful. And then afterwards, they kind of understood what I was looking for. And that's like what I was looking for, like professionally as well as like personally, because one thing that I learned at Cora is like, there's a very thin line between the professional and personal. Like everything's about interpersonal relationships and everything's about like how you want to be, like basically bettering yourself. So like they were extremely helpful in giving me advice for everything in those realms. And it's just out of this world. Like, and I've connected with alums who are in like industries that I'm interested in one day going into. Like they're some of my friends or some of my mentors. And then I haven't connected with alums who are not even, they do not work in industries I want to work for, but like we're genuinely friends and they give good advice. They give me great advice professionally and personally. So I think that's the biggest thing. I always push back on like actually the word networking, a network, because like that always sounds like so like impersonal in a way. Like these are they're my friends. Like the people I've networked with, like my mentors, they are genuinely my friends. I go to them for advice on professional stuff, but I've met with some of the people who are technically in my network that we've met and never talked about a job, like never talked about work or anything of that nature. Just talked about things personally, talked about sports, talked about all types of things, like funny, like television shows. Like it's really, it's less of a network, or it's less of a network and more of a family is probably the biggest thing I wanted to say.
I'm just curious, how many alumni connections would you say you've made if you had to ballpark it?
Wow. At least probably like genuine connections where it's like I could probably call them up at a moment's notice if I'm ever having a problem or something like that or need advice. Probably like 20 to 25. And then out of people who like, I could call them up, like, ask for a favor or something like that, or quick, or basically get some get some advice on something. Like there's probably close to 100. Just, and like running into people. I've been out, like, and it's funny, like it's like you meet someone once in Coro, like you don't forget them and they don't forget you. Like I've met someone and then like 8 months later, 10 months later, a year later, I've run into them somewhere and they're like, oh my gosh. And like, they're like, hey, like, you remember, like you were going through this, like how's everything going? And it's, that connection is still there. So it's a lot. It's a lot of alums who I've connected to, and a lot of alums, if you decide to do the program, that you will connect to as well.
Yeah. I am so happy that you said that, because I do say that to everybody who asks me, and I feel like there's a little bit of, are you sure that's true?
Oh no, it's they encourage you, like the alums want to be contacted. I'm an alum. If you do this program, if you need help with anything, contact me. Like my name is Seth Bynum. Contact me. They want to be connected, and if they can't help you, if one can't help you, they will find another alum who can help you, who can offer you the advice, or can give you that time and that face time that you probably need. So yeah,
that's great. It just warms my heart. It's one of my favorite parts of the job, getting to interact with alumni and getting them to speak to you about this. Great, thank you for that.
No problem.
So alongside the hands-on professional experience Coro provides, the Fellows Program also develops your leadership skills. So how would you say the Fellows Program helped develop your leadership skills, and can you give an example of how you've utilized these skills in your everyday life?
One thing that I think hasn't been said yet is that, in the Coro Fellowship, you're with 11 others. You're with 11 other individuals, and you're together. They're your cohort. You do projects together. You go through leadership interviews together. You have to problem solve together. And I think that being in that setting, when you're with 11 other people, 11 other individuals who all come into the space with their own like experiences, like all types of things, opinions, like just lives. It taught me basically how to conduct like meetings and things like that, like how to conduct conversations, to get something done, to either get to a certain goal, or even not even sometimes it didn't have a specific goal, but just to have a conversation where like all opinions, all feelings are represented in the room, and feel, and the people and everyone in the room feels represented. And that is extremely difficult. I can say, like, during going into Coral, I remember I used to say, I'm good with like group settings, or, I'm good with that. But I think Coral really taught me like how to make everyone in the group be comfortable in a group setting. And as I'm working professionally, I didn't realize how many times I work in a group with either, and that group can have 2 other people, that group can have 9 other people, that group can be a group of people who are on your like professional level, or a group of people who are below and above you, like stuff like that. Like that is a really great leadership skill that I thought. And like I learned that, being a leader is not talking the most as well, even in a group setting. Like sometimes you can leading is and can be giving up space to others so they can voice their opinion. Like I've been, as I go through, ever since Core, when I'm in a group setting, I look around, I can tell when a person is going out of their way to like make sure everyone else is heard, that every opinion is heard. Because that I think that's good. Coral told me, like, leaders should want to make everyone feel heard, because first of all, the more opinions, the better. Like that, yeah, and like you don't want to fall into groupthink as well. A lot of groups do that. You want to, and like frankly, like going forward, just not even in that setting, you make someone feel heard. Like that next meeting, they'll speak. They'll speak up. They'll do it. Like they'll be invested in the group. And I think that's what a good leader does. Is like does anything and everything to make sure everyone is invested, whether that's being up in the front or whether that's being in the back. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
The Coro Fellowship values multiple perspectives and encourages fellows to look at an issue from all different angles. It's something that you were just speaking about, kind of. Can you speak to a time your perception on an issue was challenged by an experience you had while in the fellowship?
Trying to think. All of them. No, it's, I think that was. I'm trying to think of a good one that also doesn't say too much. I think like just off the top, like that's an extremely difficult thing to do. And most people, I think many people will probably say, I'm good at looking at like different perspectives and such as that, and like knowing what a perspective is, knowing what a different perspective, a different opinion is. But I don't think many people know, like, do you understand where that's coming from? Like, do you truly understand, and do you truly care where it's coming from? Like, are you listening to someone voice another opinion or perspective to make yours better, or to make yours better, or try and prove why yours is better than theirs? Or are you listening to another perspective to really learn about it, to really to listen to a perspective and be open to that perspective, maybe like shaping yours, challenging yours, or even changing yours. So I think Coral, a lot of that, it's just that. Like I'm trying to think of specifics, but it's really difficult, so I won't give too much. But you're with a cohort of 11 other people. And like I said, they come from all over the country with different experiences, different lives. Like they're in different places, and maybe in different places of their lives, everything. And with that, they have different opinions and perspectives. And it was difficult. It's extremely difficult to say something that you've always felt in your, like, it is true in your heart of heart, which it is. It is your opinion, it is your perspective. It is like your truth. And then have it like to realize, like, maybe, like, not even maybe it's not, but maybe there's more. Like maybe just something like there's more. This thing that you've kind of been walking through your life with, thinking that you knew, maybe you know it, but like not necessarily other people know it, and for a very good reason. So that was a very jarring experience that you will go through Coral, because a lot of it, like you're learning a lot. Like you hear, like the same like moment happens with the rest of your cohort. It also happens when you're in leadership interviews. Like Coral makes you meet a lot of different people. It may happen with that alum that you reach out to, like trying to get advice, or just trying to just talk about an industry or something like that. You'll be challenged. Like you will be challenged, and it's very difficult to kind of take that. But if it's anything worth doing is difficult up front. Like if it was easy, like, is it really helping you? So so Coro does a lot of that. I'm sorry I can't give a specific example, but believe me, there are a lot of personal examples like I can think of right now. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
And it sounds like you found intense value
in
being challenged and allowing yourself to challenge other people as well. Correct.
And you don't, it's not like a snap moment either, folks. It's not like, you get challenged, you're like, I get it now. No, it's a lot of, you will push back, other people will push back. The fact of the matter is like baby steps, like working towards it. That's what, like, at least try.
And at least the fellowship gives you that opportunity to practice as opposed to anywhere in life. Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. And now you feel equipped to move through the world with that.
Yes.
It sounds like you apply it not only to your professional life, but to your personal as well.
Definitely.
It's fantastic. So how did the fellowship help you make steps in your professional career? I know that you're still earlier on in your career, but it seems like you're doing amazing things out there.
I think the biggest thing is, like, I guess, like, the what's the opportunity cost? So of it is, like, if Coro has the job placement, you have 6 different job placements and, like, in 5 different sectors, like, so that's 6 different jobs over the course of 9 months. That's 6 different responsibilities. That's 6 different types of coworkers. That's 6 different bosses. It's a lot of different things where if you weren't doing that, you'd be in a job, like, for 9 months and everything, when the same type of responsibility, so on and so forth. And, like, that experience, like, just knowing how to just not, like, being able to learn all these technical technical tasks as well as non-technical tasks, like just being able to navigate people as well, like knowing how to navigate, like, 6 different bosses. I had 6 different bosses. They were all different, all very different. Some micromanaged, some, like, were a little bit like, you do you and stuff like that. Some had been in their jobs for like 35 years. Some had been in their jobs, got there the week before I came. So it helped me navigate, like, all these professional, like, spaces and skills, and frankly, it helped me figure out what type of work I want to do. Like, Coro does a really great job of all the jobs are really different. Some might be at a desk, some might be like going around having to go to meetings and stuff like that. Some might be really they're all different. Like, some are big companies, huge companies. Some are, like, with a company has like 3 other people, or some is in like you're with an organizer. So I think, like, that was incredible. I walked out of Coro after the 9 months, and I remember looking back and thinking, like, I've done a lot. Like, especially talking to, like, my friends and stuff who, they were like, a lot of them were, like, maybe a year into their first job when I finished Coro, and they're like, I know how to do. They were like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. And this is what I've been doing. I was like, well, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. I have some background in, like, this space in terms of, like, I know the politics of, like, this type of thing, this industry. I know like how the politics and stuff work in, like, a large company, a small company, stuff like that. Like things that I can carry around, where in just a few months, I got exposed to, like, so many different workplaces. And then you're with other people as well. You're with the 11 other members of your core, and they're a huge resource. Like, they're doing six different jobs as well at different places. So you hear from them, you can get their experience, their perspective on that. Where sometimes I heard, like, some of my cohort members, they'll speak about their job and be like, oh, that doesn't sound like, they'll like go deep into it. I'm like, that doesn't sound like it's for me. Then other ones, I'm like, wow, that sounds incredible. Like, that's something I want to do, either right after this or down the line at some point. So it's pretty great just getting that perspective, all those perspectives of different types of jobs and careers and just industries. It's like invaluable. Like, you can't put a price on it. You literally can't put a price on it.
It's fantastic. Great. Speaking of prices and putting prices on, as you know, and as everybody knows, I believe, there's a financial component to the fellows program, which we'd like to address. Can you speak about why doing the program is a financial commitment worth making?
The first of all, the experiences you gain, the experiences you have, like mixed with like the knowledge you have. Like there's so many, like, and I'm not talking, like book knowledge, like, you get book knowledge, everyone's gone to school, stuff like that. You get that knowledge of how like institutions run and form and how networks work out, like just that informal versus like formal like structures and stuff, that knowledge, that you can't put a price on that. You really can't. Like in a few months, like you're like in this space where your job is like, first and foremost, is to learn and to ask questions. And you're put in front of a lot of different people, like in leadership interviews, where you're put in front of like leaders, like elected officials in New York City. You're put in front of agency heads. You're put in front of like business leaders. You're put in front of community organizers, activists, like people renowned in their fields who've done a lot. And you can't put a price on that. Like you're in a room with them, you can ask them questions. You can ask them questions. They can ask you questions as well, and you can answer. And they'll give you their honest, very, very honest opinion. And like, it's a great experience. Like you cannot get anything from that, and I know it because while I was doing Coro, I was like, wow, this is invaluable. Like this, like I can't put a price on this. And then afterwards, as I've gotten further away from Coro, I've realized like how much it was really worth it. Like it was like as every day goes by and, I'm at work or something and I'm in a conversation and I understand something, I'll be like, oh, what about this and this? And it's some knowledge that I gained from Coro, like some sort of informal knowledge, or even like actually a lot of formal knowledge as well, where it's like the technical processes of how government works at the city, at the state, at the federal level and stuff like that I gained through Coro. Like it just pops up and I know it, and it saves it. Yeah, you just can't get it. Like, there's no way you can't put a price on it. You're in Coro, your job is to learn, and you have so many places you put in front of so many different people to learn, to learn from. You like it's worth it. Like I can't even say anymore. I promise you, it is worth it. Yeah, do it.
And it sounds like the further out you get, like you said, the more you get to use what you learned, yep. Which I think makes this a unique experience.
I think so,
because
yeah.
You really do get even deeper into the trenches the further you get.
And on that, I think a big thing is Coro gives you like knowledge and stuff on like how processes work, but Coro also teaches you how to think and learn as well, and how to ask questions. And that's something that keeps building on itself as you go further and further. Like Coro taught me how to think a certain way, how to ask questions and stuff, and I keep doing that today. So I'm still learning. I'm asking questions. There are things I can promise you. There are things that now, like outside of Coro, that I've asked in meetings. I've asked in superiors, and I've learned. And I know, like, I would not have asked that if I hadn't gone through Coro. Like, I wouldn't have thought about asking that type of thing, or asking that clarifying question, or even challenging that, or even challenging something with what I know, and then learning something back from it. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Great. So we're going to check Twitter now and see if you are interested in learning more, hearing from Seth right now. Please tweet us at Coro New York and use the hashtag #AskAnAlum. We are going to take your questions now. And do you think that Seth is, an alum, and he doesn't need to know all the technical things that happen. So if you also have questions about like the application or the process or anything like that, you can ask me. But also Seth is here now, and I'm here always. So take advantage of the fact that Seth is here to answer your questions. Great. So I have a question as we wait for people to tweet at us. So something we haven't talked about are the leadership interviews, which is a component of this program. Can you talk about one of your favorite ones and why that might have been?
My favorite ones.
Or one that had the greatest impact on you?
Let's see. I think one that had the greatest impact on me was former police commissioner Bill Bratton. So we met with him during Coro. So NYPD, he's a former commissioner as of right now, and it was about we did a focus day on policing, and we got a chance to sit down with him and have a candid conversation with him. And I'm a black male. I'm a black male between the ages of 20 and 27. So being able to talk to them, and I asked them questions. And that was one of the I was in that room and I was like, you know what, I want to ask questions. I gotta ask them some questions because frankly, I can't think of how many people that look like me that that would get that opportunity. And I got that opportunity, and I'm thankful that I used it. And I will say, I learned a lot actually from that meeting as well, in terms of policing, and as well as a different perspective, as well as a perspective of NYPD leadership. And I got a chance to voice my perspective as well to NYPD leadership. And I think that's I was very lucky. I know a lot of people didn't get that chance, and I did not take it. I did not take that opportunity lightly, and it did. And I think about that. I think about that meeting a lot, actually, a very lot, in terms of trying to speak truth to power and stuff like that. Honestly trying to represent yourself as well as others at the same time, which is very difficult. So yeah, that was very impactful.
Sure. How many leadership interviews do you think you went on during those 9 months?
It's funny because they definitely have them written down somewhere. Let's see.
Ballpark it.
Maybe, let's see. It's 9 months. Okay. I'm saying somewhere between 55 and 65.
Wow.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a remarkable.
Because we had those. Okay. Because we have. Yep. Yeah. I think I'm gonna. Yep. I'm definitely gonna say that. It might be more.
I promise I'm not testing.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's great because that means that these were all full hour interviews with your cohort members, leading and getting to talk to.
Yeah. So they're 1 hour. Sometimes a couple of them bleeded into an hour and a half, which was incredible. But you sit that you're there 1 hour. Everything's confidential. What you talk about specifically and everything. And they do these people the people you have these leadership interviews, which I was actually surprised going into, open up. Really open up. And I think part of that's the reason because we do take confidentiality very seriously. And I'm glad we do, because it allows every cohort to really get honest and informative answers from the guests in the leadership interviews you're interviewing. And and that allows you it's good to a lot they're not trying to tell you what they think you want to hear. And and obviously speaking of all this, some were a little some you could tell kind of wanted to do that, and then some were no, I'm telling you exactly how I feel in this moment. You may not want to hear that, but that is how this is. Or you may not want to know that I think this, or maybe they'll be you may not want to know that this thing you're asking about is really this way from this side, but this is what it is. And those were incredibly, I can't even begin to describe, incredibly informative of meetings. And you have a lot of them throughout the year with all different kinds, everyone from the head of a Fortune 500 company to activists, community activists, basically organizing for housing or organizing for police reform. You get I really like how Coro kind of forces you to think of leadership differently. Like leadership is not just someone who's the head of something, who's like, works like does this and everything. Like leaders come in all shapes and sizes. And frankly, the only thing that that makes leaders like the impact, like that they're doing some sort of impact. Might be on a lot of people, or it might be on a small group of people, but it's impactful. They're impactful. So I think the leadership interviews are just out of this world.
Fantastic. So just a reminder, you can tweet us at Coro New York, and we are using the hashtag #AskAnAlum to hear from you. So what would you say is the most challenging part of the program?
I think the most challenging thing about Coro is it kind of forces you to look at yourself, to look at how you go about yourself and like your professional spaces, your personal spaces, and like just really there's a lot of reflection in Coro, and that's very hard. Like it lives a lot of time, and you have 11 other individuals who are invested in your growth, and they will do anything to make sure that you are becoming like the person you want to be. And it's hard. It's really hard to kind of look yourself in the mirror, and I know a lot of you probably apply. You have a lot of accolades, you have a long resume and stuff like that. You've been successful in like everything that you've done. You've gotten, but also I know it hasn't been easy as well. And even that, like you get here and Coro's like, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and really like see how you are, see the impact you have, and that's hard. It's very, very difficult, and it's like something that never ends as well. Like you're always striving. After you do it once, it's addicting. After really look at yourself and assess things once, you want to keep doing that because you want to strive for something. You want to strive to do something better or be better. So that was very hard, and it's kind of hard to really describe and really paint a picture for you all, but it's something that I highly recommend, and I think everyone needs it. I don't care who you are. Like I honestly I don't care. I don't care who you are. You will gain something from really looking at yourself. That's what Coro makes you do.
That's beautifully stated. And again, where do you get the opportunity to do that?
I don't know. Like I said, there's 11 other people in Coro staff who are invested in you. That's a little bit different than a job, and stuff like that, where generally, everyone has a goal, they have the task and everything. Well, in Coro, that task is like for your growth, like for your growth, like in terms of like personally, professionally, even academically and stuff like that. And I can't think of any other place that is really as invested. I think a lot of places say, we're about your growth. Like that's a little buzzwordy, like type of thing. But like Coro walks the walk, Coro is truly about your growth and will do everything to make you grow. And like some of those things, like sometimes in the moment, it's great. Sometimes in the moment, it's hard. It's very hard. But I know where you remember where Coro's coming from, this place where they're like, we want to make you like what you want to do. We want to invest in your growth, what you view as growth. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to ask one more question. You've mentioned the 11 other people in your cohort, and a lot of questions that I get from interested applicants is about the cohort and whether or not you get to interact with them in a meaningful way. So how would you answer that question if somebody asked you that?
Okay, you will spend just a very, very necessary, but somewhat absurd amount of time with your cohort. I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad you will. because they're Coro. It's hard to explain Coro. Every cohort is absolutely different. Every Coro fellowship, like 9 months, is different. So like the only other people, like at the time, the only other people in the world who know what you are going through, like who know the feelings and everything, that have an idea of what is going on, are the 11 other people in your cohort. And that forges a bond like no other. Like you will love them, you will hate them, but you will know one thing, like you will know this one thing, like through all those moments of love and hate and everything, you will know that they are invested in you. And that is an absolutely amazing and beautiful thing. Like going into Coro, I had alums tell me, they're going to be like your family. You're going to learn things about them, and you're going to tell them things that like you may have never told anyone. Because that's the type of bond. Like when you go through like that struggle and all those late nights and all the hard work and everything, you really form a bond with people. And that's what I did. Like my cohort they're like my family. Like honestly, they are my family. We talk during Coro. You will talk constantly because you have to. Especially in the beginning, you have to. There's a lot of projects, a lot of things like of that nature, and then it ends. And then I'll end up you're still talking constantly, you know, like you're in each other, like we are in each other's lives, you know. Coro's not something that, you know, that you did, like that you did at some point in your life, either after college or after working a few years or something like that. No, it's not. It's an experience and a bond. Coro's like a family that you made over the course of 9 months, and that you still like are connected to. Like I finished Coro 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and I still consider my cohort family. We still talk. We actually 11 out of the 12 of us met last Sunday for this is around Thanksgiving time. So we had a Friendsgiving the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and like, you know, and it's like I had a moment when I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, like everyone's talking, everyone's doing everything, yeah. And I'm like, this is a beautiful thing, like, because I like this is my family. I view this as like another family that I have, and just the bond you create over the course of the 9 months, it's hard to explain. Like people told me, like, I'm going into it, I'm best friends with my cohort, I still talk to them, and these are alums saying 20 years ago, they're still close with them, they still talk and everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, I was a tour guide ambassador, and actually the day I found out I got Coro, I told my tour guide, I was a senior, I told the tour, because they were like, oh, what are you doing as a senior? Like, what are you doing next year? And everything. I told them, and there was 2 women in the back raised their hands, and they're like, oh my gosh, like we did Coro. And I was like, what do you mean by we did Coro? Like, we did Coro the same year. We were in the same cohort. And they did it in the 80s. And I was like, oh, what are you doing here? They're like, oh, both our daughters are looking at colleges. And they were like best friends. I'm telling them, they met in Coro. Like they met. It was wild, actually. It's pretty. And they even said, they were like, the people you'll meet, you'll be best friends. I was like, all right, okay. But then, like, as I did it, I was like, you know, they're people who are invested in me. They were invested in me for the 9 months. And then as I gone through, they were invested in me after that. Like we check in on each other, like, you know, professionally, personally, emotionally, like all types of things, academically, like we like, and then we connect each other to other people, other experiences, like other events and stuff like that. Like, oh, I feel like you'd be interested in this. Look at this. And it's just, I don't know where else you really get that, you know, like it's hard. Like, and you had to get through the fellowship to get that. I think about it. It's just difficult, but it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. That is one of, again, my favorite things to see is hearing as alumni and getting to see everybody together all the time. Everybody really is invested in everybody else's personal growth, which is fantastic. So I think that we'll just wrap up with this final question, which you've answered in many different ways during the course of these 45 minutes. But why should somebody do Coro?
I'm trying to think of a good, like a
give it a last pitch.
Let's see. probably to be who you should do Coro to be who you want to be. You know, like Coro does a lot. Like you go through a lot of experiences, you learn a lot, you work at a lot of places and things of that nature. But one of the biggest things about Coro, you learn a lot about yourself and who you truly want to be. Like, and I'm not talking like obviously like, you know, you'll career, job wise and everything, but like personally, like what type of friend you want to be and stuff like that. Like what type of person, like the type of person you want to be to have an impact on the world around you, on the people around you. I think that's probably the biggest reason why you should do Coro, because I'm not saying you're gonna, you know, after 9 months, you're gonna be this revolutionized new person. No, but you'll have an awareness that will allow you, an awareness and a set of tools that will allow you to be the type of person who you want to be the type, to be your best self, no matter what that is. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So beautifully stated all throughout this webinar. Thank you again, Seth, for coming by and taking part and demonstrating that the Alumni Network is passionate about this program and excited for people to apply.
Yeah. And also, if you're thinking about it, reach out to an alum as well. Like alums alums don't only talk to alums. We like talking to everybody. So if you have any questions or stuff like that, like, you know, you want to talk personally or have personal questions, stuff like that, reach out to me or reach out to anyone, like any of the fellows alums. Like I can guarantee you they will want to talk to you. If they can't, it's because there's something stopping them, and but reach out if you have any questions.
Absolutely. And if you do want to be put in touch with an alum, you can reach out to me directly. Everybody should have my contact information, but if you don't, it's very easy. Gina@coro.nyc. That's GINA@coro.nyc. And I'm always available at our phone number 212-248-2935. And I enjoy talking to you about this program and putting you in touch with the alums, and anything that I can do to facilitate your decision about whether or not to apply, please reach out. Thank you all so much for attending and for joining us on this webinar, and I hope you have a fantastic evening.